everyone. Welcome to Moms on a Mission. We would love to hear from you. Email us at moms@momsonamission.net and check us out at our website at momsonamission.net. And please follow us on your favorite platform.
Our guest today is going to help us take back our health. He is a physician, accomplished leader, and an entrepreneur who provides innovative science and solutions that adhere to open, honest, transparent, and uncompromisingly patient-centered principles. Please welcome back to the show, Dr. Jim Meehan.
Hey, Dr. Meehan.
Well, thank you, moms. What part of the mission are we focusing on today? It's great to be here.
Well, first of all, before we got down to business, we wanted to ask you, how was your weekend at the Reawaken America tour? Because we are still recovering.
We're recovering.
We're exhausted, but it was so fun. But we're tired.
Well, it's always energizing. It's always inspiring. I think at a time when, our enemy is trying to isolate us and make us think that we're alone and we're crazy, we're conspiracy theorists. It's nice to reunite and unite with such a large group of, people that love their family, their country, and really want to do something about it, that are, opening their minds and starting to realize that there's a lot of people trying to kill us in the world, and it's time to kind of become hard to kill. And, about just what is their purpose in their life. The other thing I like about it is sometimes it's like going to church, because there's a lot of salvations. There's a lot of people praying for each other. And that's after my own heart. It
was so inspiring. I think to watch those people come together, and the speakers were, from all different walks of life too. That's what I love, from the Trumps to like Dr. Meehan, Dr. Peter McCullough. And we had some, like Julie Green, just from all different walks of life. It was very inspiring. And to see people getting being ministered to and educated and activated.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's critical. Yeah. You gotta be, it kind of recharges me. I hope it did that for you too, but did you guys get caught in the weather on the way back? A lot of people had their flights delayed. We got out just in time, apparently.
Mine was delayed in Dallas just for a few hours.
Oh, okay. I had to leave actually a day early. My son was graduating from Purdue University from
congratulations.
Engineering, so I couldn't miss that. So I was so lucky. I got out Saturday morning, had no weather delays, and it was wonderful. But we had actually some weather coming back from Indianapolis on Sunday.
Yeah.
So anyway,
did you get to watch the Plandemic 3 premiere?
I didn't.
No, I had.
Go to Plandemic 3. I think it's plandemic3.com.
Okay.
Really, another brilliantly done in the series, the Plandemic series by Mickey Willis.
Okay.
Fantastic, really on point. The fight that we're fighting here, this rise in Marxism, socialism, communism, and really worth watching.
Well, we'll definitely check that out. I know I will. And we'll also include it in our notes here. Okay, so we'll get down to business now. So many of us, including me, have struggled with, hormonal imbalance. And I had some of the typical, symptoms of, hot flashes a little bit, not too bad, but sluggish, just not feeling like myself at all. And I've kind of gotten through some of it, but I kind of go back and forth. And one of the things that probably bothered me the most was insomnia, because I really like my sleep. So that was probably one of the hardest ones for me, but I know it's different for everybody. But just starting off in our conversation about hormones, what would you say are the most common symptoms of hormonal imbalance, and what should people be looking for?
Well, so let's start with this. I look at hormones like water to a garden. If your cells, every cell in your body is essentially has receptors for your androgens and estrogens, testosterone, estradiol, et cetera. Just like if you don't water a garden, not only do those plants not bear fruit, they don't bloom, but they start to wilt and wither. And hormones are like that in your body. When your hormone levels become deficient, and there's a lot of reasons why that's happening now more than ever in the history of humanity. We live in a very toxic estrogen filled world. So many chemicals sprayed on our food, included in our personal care products, in our water supply, are disrupting hormones. It's a huge problem right now, and it's driving more chronic disease than probably any other driver of chronic disease. We've been tracking the decline in fertility for years, and it's really becoming, with some of the newer medical interventions lately, that it's become a hockey stick problem. The rise in fertility just took a big bend up and exponential increase in the problems with fertility. But it's been building as we are seeing more and more of these estrogen-like molecules entering our bodies. And it's particularly important for younger people, because many children being born, you test the cord blood, umbilical cord blood, and you'll find that they have 100 of these endocrine disrupting chemicals. A good book to read, as a primer on this problem, because one of the first steps in dealing with this problem is to know where these toxic estrogens are, so you can, start preventing them from coming into your body. So let me say that again. Start really working to prevent them coming into your body. So a good book on this is a book called Estrogeneration by Dr. Anthony Jay, Jay, PhD. He wrote an excellent book, came out about a year and a half ago, that talks about, all the sources, the genetically modified foods. But the problem is these estrogen-like molecules are coming into our body. They're binding to your estrogen receptors. Even, young women like yourselves, are seeing these estrogen-like molecules coming into your body, binding to the estrogen receptors in your brain and confusing your brain into thinking it has more of this hormonal signaling than it actually has. These bind to the estrogen receptor. They don't let go. They overstimulate it many times. Some of them are, as an example, atrazine. It's another herbicide that's being sprayed on our food crops or genetically modified crops, along with Roundup. Glyphosate is another one of these molecules. But atrazine is such a powerful estrogen that when it was running off of the crops and fields in California, it was into the fields and into the streams and ponds. It was turning male frogs into female frogs, destroying, population, species in these areas. And it's coming into our bodies, male and female. And then it's one of the many contributors, and there's hundreds of them, of these molecules that are coming into our body and disrupting our hormones. So that lays the groundwork for the problem, and it's been growing over time. And it's a bigger problem in the United States than it is in many other parts of the world, because we are our agencies that should be protecting us are captured. Just as the FDA and the CDC have been captured by pharma, the EPA and other agencies, they're not working for us anymore. So they're not protecting us from these corporations that are, spraying tons of these things on our bodies. So, and if you're getting too many of these things in your body and you start developing even in your 20s and 30s, not uncommon to see it happening early. Some of the symptoms will be, things like depression, anxiety, sleeplessness. If your estrogen is low, you're going to have things. If it's really low, you're going to have the hot flashes that most people would associate with menopause. Mm-hmm. But you could be having those vasomotor estrogen deficiency symptoms in your 30s or 40s if your hormones are being driven down. There's other things that impact ovarian function. Let's focus on women for a while, and we're talking to a lot of moms, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. But ovarian function is being destroyed by some of these things that they're injecting into our arms. The Gardasil vaccine is notorious for causing ovarian dysfunction. So there's multiple causes, but when your estrogen is involved, you're going to see at the end stage, you're going to see things like bone loss, muscle loss. Estrogen is a perfect partner with testosterone. If estrogen is not is at significantly low levels in your body, it won't create the receptors. It participates in creating the receptors for your testosterone and your progesterone. Women have a very complex or, beautifully complex, harmonious balance of hormones that over a 28-day time frame, generally, typical menstrual cycles, about 28 days. Estrogen rises and falls. Progesterone has its own rhythm. In fact, I think can I share my screen real quick? Oh, it's
Oh.
disabled, but that's okay.
Oh.
Um, uh, this important rhythmic rise and fall in women's hormones is being obliterated. Oh, another big cause of that obliteration of your normal hormonal rhythms are things like birth control pills, contraceptives, IUDs that release hormones. Contraceptive methods being prescribed to young women and they're, as young as 9. When you start sending a signal that tells your brain you're pregnant all the time, because that's the way contraceptives essentially work. They trick your brain into believing you're pregnant all the time, that you have these hormone levels that are indicative of the state of pregnancy. When you do that, the younger you do that and the longer you do that, the more you are changing the wiring of your brain to start breaking down that rhythmic, the neural synapses, the fiber tracts that are responsible for controlling your hormone levels throughout life. So you'll see often in women that started early and were chronic therapy with some form of birth control, hormone eluting birth control pill or IUD or otherwise, they have kind of unwired the natural brain systems for controlling your hormones. And then we have to restore them.
Mm-hmm.
When you're one of the things I tell a lot of my patients is, if you're struggling with depression and anxiety and you've been on antidepressants and anxiety medicine for a long time, one of the first things that your doctor should have done is checked your hormones, because the most powerful, most effective, most natural antidepressant and anti-anxiety medicine in the human body and the human brain is testosterone.
That's
It
what we
will
wanted
take
to
you from
ask
a
you.
place.
We wanted
What's
to
that?
ask you really quick, are there special tests like blood or saliva or something else that confirms when someone's hormones are out of balance?
Yes. Yeah. Symptoms really matter, and a good doctor will be able to align those symptoms. But lab work will often be required, especially if insurance is going to be involved or something of that nature. So, but here's how do you tell if your doctor knows anything about, human hormones, female hormones. They'll send you to the lab. And there's some, specific tests. We want high sensitivity tests, liquid chromatography, mass spec tests, not the cheaper, less accurate ones, but most importantly, they're going to tell you, we want you to really try to go get this first test around your ovulatory peak, usually about day 13 days after the beginning of your period. That's when you want to go to the lab, because you want to assess that estrogen peak. Estrogen is very low during your period, all of your hormones are very low. And then they start to rise. And estrogen is the first one to peak. It will peak around the time that the egg is released, and it's a part of that process. And that, let's say you're in your 20s and 30s, that estrogen peak is going to be pretty high. It's going to be in the 400 to 500 picograms per milliliter level. It's going to be high. If it's not, then it's going that estrogen deficiency is going to stop making receptors. It's going to stop stimulating your bone, your muscle. It's doing a lot of things. But if your doctor is sending you to the lab without any context of your menstrual cycle to get your labs drawn, just randomly sending you, that they don't know what they're doing. Look elsewhere, because very important that we look on very specific days. If you want to see, if you're wondering about is it your testosterone? Is it your progesterone? Testosterone, you go on around day 15. Now on day 13, we can get estrogen and testosterone both pretty close together. But then there's the secondary peak of estradiol occurs on day 22. And then the primary peak for progesterone occurs on day 22. So sometimes I'll send patients to the lab to have their blood drawn around day 22. Progesterone deficiency is a huge problem for women. If you have a painful, heavy flow, so you have cramping around the time of your period, you have a heavy flow, lots of blood loss and clot formation in that period, you probably have a progesterone deficiency. Very easy to fix, very easy to replace. There aren't any progesterone-like toxic molecules, being added to our food and water, and or sprayed on our food and to offset that estrogen. And that balance between estrogen and progesterone is also critical. Think of estradiol as like the stimulator. It's the cell replicator. It's the exerciser of the tissues. And then progesterone is the rest. Estrogen dominates the first half of the cycle, and then progesterone comes in and dominates the second half of the cycle. That harmonious balance between those two hormones is critical, because it's what I call progesterone, kind of your anti-cancer hormone.
So you have let's just say go ahead and go into this a little bit, because I really want to get to this. So you have a protocol called Hormone Optimization Therapy. So can you tell us what this is and how it works? We'll kind of get into the weeds with this.
Yeah. So my approach to hormones is to replicate the 28-day rhythmic rise and fall of your sex hormones as they appear in the healthiest members of the female population. That is not the same dose every day. That is not, a low dose enough to kind of stave off the hot flashes and night sweats. It's a rhythmic rise and fall that we deliver with little, transdermal creams in a dispenser like this one. This was a game changer when these came around, because we can calibrate the amount of hormone cream that you apply. And what I do is, if you can picture that kind of roller coaster of estrogen going up day 13, coming back down, then back up on day 22. So you get a dosing chart where it will tell you how many clicks to listen for, because each click is a calibrated amount of the cream. And we can actually increase your blood levels just like your ovaries and your brain were working together to create in your 20s and 30s. We can raise those levels, bring them back down, and replicate that, what I would say is God's perfect design of our hormones that the enemy is trying to disrupt with poisoning us with our food and personal care products. So we can restore those blood levels in a way that replicates what we see in the healthiest members of the population, because though we know that those levels are purposeful, the rhythmic change is purposeful. It's turning on genes. If you don't get a peak level of estradiol, you will not create the receptors for the other hormones. So we do that. You get one of these in my program called Biorhythmic Transdermal. I call it the Harmony Female Hormone Optimization Therapy program. Is you'll get one of those. You'll get one for estrogen, you get one for progesterone, and a dispenser for testosterone. And usually in the testosterone, I'll also include pregnenolone and DHEA. Those are also important sex hormones that are upstream in the hormone pathway. When you restore those hormones to look, have that shape and that rhythmic rise and fall, as as your body was creating in your 20s and 30s, you start watering the garden again, not just keeping the plants from wilting and withering, but actually enabling them to bloom and bear fruit again. It's like I watch women de-age 5 to 10 years. I watch my beautiful wife of 32 years, she looks 10 years younger today after several years on hormone optimization.
So I think that one line alone will encourage moms and women. Let's face it, we all want to sleep, we all want to feel good, but man, if we look 10 years younger, like I'm signing me up. And the fact that we are going to feel better is just the cherry on top.
Well, and having better energy and sleeping, all those things help us to feel and look better.
Absolutely.
And we'll do everything, work better.
Nobody looks great when they're tired. Let's be honest.
Well, beauty starts from the inside, the health of your skin, your hair, your nails, when you're starting to lose lean muscle, you want to maintain that muscle, and it's hard to do it when you're in, a menopausal state. Your hormone levels are so low that they're almost unmeasurable.
I'm really glad you said about the lean muscle tissue, because I think women are puzzled by that sometimes. You get to a certain age and maybe you've been premenopausal, you've gone through menopause, and you stay slim, maybe some people put on pounds, but maybe you stay slim, but you lose the muscle tissue, which has a lot to do with metabolism, the way that your clothes fit, the way that you feel, and strength. And that does keep you younger too. So I'm really glad you brought that up, because I think that's so important with optimizing the hormones.
And I wanted to
It
ask
also
you-
protects you from the injuries. I mean,
Yes,
That's true.
you shouldn't be 50 years old and you reach up for a plate and it drops and you tweak up your back and, you spend the next 2 years contemplating back surgery. That's
Right.
the way you're on opioids and antidepressants. And it's a,
The cycle
cascade
begins.
of
you
events.
don't want to go down that road.
Yeah. If a person
Right.
has some or all of these symptoms you described, how do they get started? Can they begin the hormone optimization therapy right away, or do they need to make an appointment with your office and schedule it out a while?
Well, yeah. I mean, these are prescription medications and transdermal creams, usually made at a compounding pharmacy, and I have a very specific formulation that's clean and preservative free, and so I would want to do lab work, assess your symptoms, get them complete medical history and such. I usually order the lab work immediately. I want to see those labs, and then I want to hear your story, and I'm going to try to ascertain what your hormonal fingerprint might look like. I'm going to ask you a lot of questions about, like, what was your body composition, your level of athleticism when you were in high school and maybe college. One of the things that I've done in my career is I trained in endocrinology, and this area in particular was I studied the healthiest members of the population, because the lab reference ranges that your doctors are looking at have nothing to do with the optimal health. They are a representation of a pretty sick population of people that are not representative of most of my patients.
So let me clarify. You're saying when you go and you get your lab work and they say if you're in between these boundaries, you're healthy. And what you're saying is that they've kind of changed the numbers where you don't have to be as physically healthy to check the box and fall within.
That's right. Yeah. The ranges are ridiculously broad and they're very low. The low end is extremely low. The low end, in fact, most of the time, the median point, the middle of that range and less is associated with a significant increase in chronic diseases, cardiovascular disease, bone loss, weight gain, et cetera. When you look at the healthier members of the population, they're often, let's take free testosterone for women, for example. The range is 0 to like 4.2. So I always joke, I mean, apparently they're testing the blood of cadavers in that range, because your doctors are going to say, well, you're in the range. You're 0.1. You have a testosterone of 0.1. Doesn't matter that you're losing muscle mass, you're depressed, you haven't thought about sex in 20 years. All of those, the important things that testosterone does in your body, they're just ignoring all the symptoms that that's causing because you're in the laboratory reference range. But I will tell you that when you study the Olympic athlete database, healthiest members of the population, some of the sources and the research that I've done, you find that, a 50-year-old might, a healthy 50-year-old athlete might have a free testosterone in the 6 to 7 range, even higher. And they're in their 20s, they probably had levels that were in the, 8 to 12 range. So you kind of have to know what your physiology is, because we're not a population, we're individuals, and your level might be different than 99 of the other 100 women that are in there. So what,
I think
finding
you're making a really good point to people that they need to be educated before they go to the doctor. And I love what we're talking about, because so many people just go, oh, my range is supposed to be 0 to 4.5. So that must be fine. That they need to understand that there's different ways to look at this. And if your doctor that you're going to doesn't really understand hormones, they're not going to get to the bottom of your problem.
And it's truly customized. It's for you, where you don't just fall in a range, but what's your range? What should you be in? And I think that's part of this thing, is the customization.
Just being an advocate for your own health. Don't assume that your doctor is going to go the extra mile. Dr. Meehan is going to the extra mile for the hormone therapy. Because I've kind of been down a couple of roads and found someone who did help me. But I just think sometimes people give up too quick just because they haven't found the right clinic or the right doctor who really takes the time to do the testing and talk to you. I love that you ask all those questions about being an athlete and what was your life like before and where do you really want to be? Because so many people can get so much better. They don't think they can, but if they get to the right physician, it's amazing what we can do with these, natural hormones, and also someone with a great attitude like Dr. Meehan that wants you to get better and knows that just making a few small changes can make all the difference in your health.
And tells 54-year-old moms that they look young. So
Yeah.
that's
You do look young,
right
ladies.
Positive words go a long way.
I wanted to ask.
Well, when you're living your purpose, you're living your purpose.
That's it right there. How quickly does this hot protocol work for most people? What should they expect?
Well, yeah, it really depends on how deep your deficiencies are. Hormones don't work overnight. If you have, for example, a significant testosterone deficiency, and testosterone is just as important to women as it is men. We have different levels and ratios and such, but it's very important. Testosterone is one that you can see benefits in the first week. That testosterone effect in your brain is so important. You'll find that your mood is better, your libido is better. Now, in women, it's a little bit more complex because you got to get that estradiol optimized first, or you won't have the receptors for the testosterone. This is a point that a lot of doctors miss. Without that critical level of estradiol turning on the DNA, creating the receptors for itself, for testosterone, you may not be able to receive. You can't just give a woman testosterone. That will not work. It'll look like she's got wonderful high levels in her bloodstream, but hormones without a receptor are meaningless. And I see a lot of that in the patients that come to me from other treatment programs. And listen, I'm not trying to say I'm smarter than every other person. In fact, I just recognize that I know 1% of the complexity of the issue. When you are, humble enough to recognize that we don't know 99% of the story, you go back to replicating God's perfect design. You realize you better err on the side of just replicating what we see naturally occurring. We're not doing that in medicine. Women are given flat static doses, the same dose every day, something that your body has never seen before. And it'll prevent some of the worst deficiency syndrome, symptoms, but it won't really turn your body back on like biorhythmic restoration does.
Well, let's go to your store. We're going to pull up your website and let's take a look at some of the things that you might go ahead and recommend to some of our audience. And
well, let's talk about two very important. Look up pregnenolone, and then we'll look at DHEA. So in the sex hormone pathway, the first molecule that the body works with is cholesterol, and it converts cholesterol into pregnenolone. So I call pregnenolone.
How do we spell that?
Pregnenolone. Preg. Yeah, so that the optimal pregnenolone. That's the one I take that one. I use that one personally. And let me tell you what this will do. This is the grandmother of all your sex hormones. So it's the first one in the pathway. It's a direct precursor to your progesterone. It's also it's converted. It can also be converted into cortisol in your body. So that's one of the things that will often drive it into low state. So your doctor should measure this. They often don't, but you should be 100 to 200. Let's call it just units. 100 to 200 units. Most people are below 30, and especially if you're going through stress. Stress will. It's called.
You don't know what that is. Who has stress?
Yeah. Everybody has stress. And after a weekend like we just went through,
exactly. I was just thinking.
That was so easy. Would have loved my optimal pregnenolone.
I could do that.
Yes. Yeah. Well, when you go through a weekend of stress or an infection or a bad injury, that your body will start increasing cortisol production, and cortisol will steal your pregnenolone to create that cortisol. So that's why you get the brain fog. That's why your memory starts to decline. Your mood gets worse. Your sleep diminishes. Pregnenolone should be 100 to 200. It's typically pretty low. Like I take 60 milligrams of this optimal pregnenolone twice a day with meals. It's fat soluble. You want to take it with food. But after a stressful event, like speaking at the Reawaken America tour, I have to add a third dose or increase my dosing to get, refill the pregnenolone tank, because it's going to be a precursor to all the others. Then DHEA, let's go to DHEA. let me a little bit more as you do that on pregnenolone. If you feel like your memory is really off and you're struggling to find words when you're speaking, pregnenolone is something you should really try. Verbal fluency and memory are enhanced by pregnenolone. I started taking pregnenolone when I started medical school because of its memory enhancement benefits.
I think we all could use that, actually.
Yeah.
I know. It's a very safe over-the-counter supplement to take, and it can give you some amazing results. And as I said, when you measure it, many doctors don't, but I learned early in my career, that was one of the things I saw just crashing in so many people, and so characteristically aligned with their negative symptoms, that when I started replacing it both in myself and my patients, it really changed things. It made a very big difference.
That's
and
really
very
great
safe.
I mean, too.
I am. It's such an encouragement.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people could really benefit from that, because I hear, especially women our age, and you did say our age already, didn't you?
Sorry.
Well, I mean, I really will say that, especially during COVID with all the stress, and I started reading about cortisol levels, and I didn't even realize how much that could affect memory and just other things in your body. So I really appreciate you sharing that, and I'm going to try it too.
Yeah.
And so tell us about DHEA.
Yeah. So one of the other precursor hormones, is DHEA. It's the mother of your androgens. And by the way, your estrogen is made from your testosterone. Your estradiol is made from testosterone. So it's DHEA is a banned substance in the Olympics because of its ability to increase your testosterone levels. And it will increase your testosterone levels slightly. So and for a lot of people, that may be enough to just get you to a little bit better level, healthier level of testosterone that will, help improve your libido and your focus and your mood, but also provide enough of that important precursor so you can create a little bit more testosterone. A lot of DHEA is made in your adrenal glands. Sometimes supplementing with DHEA will take some of that burden off of your adrenal glands. When your ovaries are starting to not be able to keep up with the hormonal demands that the brain wants to see, the adrenal glands will sometimes kind of try to compensate, producing more DHEA, and that can you can kind of wear out your adrenal glands. The healthier you are, the more resilient they are, but by just simply supplementing, like a lot of it, in my wife's situation, I often try to keep her about 25 milligrams, 10 to 25 milligrams once or twice a day. The more active you are, the more you're exercising, the more you're metabolizing your hormones. So one of the things about my approach is it's very customizable. We can, in very small increments, we can change the number of clicks of that dispenser, or in that you showed the liquid DHEA, which is really good because you can fine tune and fine dose that to very small increments, because it's got to be you got to become a scientist of your own health. I spent a lot of time teaching you big principles so you can start to apply those, and I want you to not need me very much, and certainly I want you to not need to go to that broken healthcare system that we are finding, increasingly not serving us.
Well, you are the opposite of most physicians, because you don't really hear physicians say what you just did. And I'm super impressed by that.
Yeah, me too.
We appreciate that. Well, if someone is interested in finding out more about your medical practice and wants more information about hormone optimization therapy, or they want to make an appointment with you, or they want some of the great products, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, go to my website, meehanmd.com, MEEHAN like ninja, and then MD like medicaldoctor.com. And sign up for our newsletter. If you do nothing else, you're going to get some great information.
Yeah.
And we'll link
sign
that
up right there.
Yeah. Okay. And then they can just see all these the testimonials and resources, and just lots of
great information.
Hey.
Yeah, go to the resources real quick, and just I want to show people like
resources.
Some of the books. Look at the book. Books. Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Yeah. So
wow.
Go down a little bit. This is it. So what I often try to do is I'll point you in the direction of some of my favorite books, some of books that have really great resources in it. And I was looking for estrogen. Sex, Lies, and Menopause.
There you go.
That's a great one for women to read. Let's see, Outliving Your Ovaries is very good. A very important book there on mammography screening. Why it's probably not the risk to benefit ratio is not there. But yeah, so I will often, give you resources. There's Estrogeneration. I think everybody should read that, so you can start not only protecting yourself but your children before we collapse as a society because we cannot maintain our fertility and our population levels. That's a really good book that will help you detoxify from those toxic estrogens.
Wow, you've got a lot of books here.
I
love how education focused you are and how you customize things, and you really are creating independence for your patients. I find that to be a blessing.
I'm honoring my oath, ladies. I mean, just, it shouldn't be a system that's based on sick care. It shouldn't be me just profiting from treating the end stage of disease. I spent the first 5 years of my career getting paid a lot of money to surgically or laser treat the ravages of diabetes and other diseases. It's got to be better than that. We got to be focused on preventing disease, optimizing the immune system, building a foundation in your health. Hormones are foundational. We could probably decrease 80% of the chronic diseases if we just simply measured, treated hormone deficiencies. A lot of women struggling with menopause and osteoporosis, the loss of sexuality, the loss of libido, atrophying of your muscles. I mean, it's preventable, but the pharmaceutical industry, they make more money treating the result of those deficiencies. And they want you to believe that hormones are dangerous. It's like the vitamin D and vitamin C, how they spend money trying to discredit vitamin D and vitamin C and ivermectin and low-cost interventions that work, but they're not a billion-dollar revenue stream. Hormones have kind of taken that kind of beating as well, because you can't patent bioidentical, testosterone, estradiol, progesterone. So they want you on chemotherapy, radiation, osteoporosis drugs. And I'd be, many times women go into the doctor's office, they list their complaints. It's a hormone deficiency, but they get put on, psychotropic drugs, antidepressants, anxiety medicines.
Well, I really appreciate you educating your patients, because like I said before, they can be advocates for their own health. And they can take control of their own health, and for a physician to walk alongside rather than just leading. You are really, I know there are other physicians out there that do that, but I love it that you're being a good example for the others, and maybe for the people that are in medical school. That's what people want. They want a physician that partners with them. Yeah. So we are so thankful that you were on today with us, Dr. Meehan, and we can't wait to have you back. We could talk a long time about hormones, and we'll talk about it again, along with some other great subjects. We'll be talking with you in the future. But in the meantime, go to meehanmd.com.
meehanmd.com.
Oh, sorry, meehanmd.com. And you can save a little money by using our promo code MOMS10. That's MOMS10. So try out the DHEA, and then say that again. I'm going to say it wrong. The memory enhancement.
Pregnenolone.
Yes. Remember, because she needs the pregnenolone.
Because you need pregnenolone. You're stealing my joke.
You just fake that, Julie. You did, right? So people will buy it. No, no, actually, that was real.
But it's real. Yeah. But MOMS10. And let's try it out. We'd love to hear from you too. Try it. Tell us how it's working out for you. We want to hear all the great stories. We know that you're going to have great success with it, and we're going to be joining alongside.
And we'll try it and see if we can remember to tell you that we tried it. So probably will. And let's get connected. We would love to hear from you. Just go to our website at momsonamission.net. That's momsonamission.net. Fill out your information. And then we'd love to hear your emails on the pregnenolone or DHEA, or even comment. I know we've heard some great feedback on our last conversation with Dr. Meehan. So we'd love to hear from you. You can email us at moms@momsonamission.net. That's moms@momsonamission.net. And please follow us on your favorite platform.
Moms on a Mission is excited to partner with our friends at MyPillow. According to sleep experts and sleephealth.org, over 50 million Americans struggle to get a good night's rest. That's where MyPillow comes in. They make the best pillows, sheets, mattresses, and mattress toppers. Several years ago, I was having trouble falling and staying asleep due to neck and shoulder pain. Luckily, I heard an ad about MyPillow and decided to give it a try. After 3 or 4 days, I really began to feel a difference. I was sleeping better and my neck and shoulders felt so much better. MyPillow really does help you fall asleep faster and stay asleep longer. Moms on a Mission wants you to get a great night's rest too. Go to mypillow.com right now and use the promo code MISSION for up to 66% off your purchase. MyPillow products are made in America and have a 60-day money-back guarantee and lifetime warranty. Remember, go to mypillow.com, put in the special code MISSION for your special Moms on a Mission discount. Thank you and God bless.
Hey guys, it's Moms on a Mission here. Are you worried about your financial stability and protecting the money for which you work so hard? The problem is stock market volatility and inflation. You may be wondering what you can do to preserve your family's wealth. We at Moms on a Mission encourage you to reach out to our friend Andrew Sorcini with Beverly Hills Precious Metals. Andrew is the expert in educating you to help you find the right balance of gold and silver for your family portfolio. He made it so easy for me to add precious metals to my financial investments. I simply mailed a check to Beverly Hills Precious Metals and my silver showed up on my doorstep a few days later. It was so easy. Go to bh-pm.com to save a little money and tell them that Moms on a Mission sent you. That's bh-pm.com. Don't wait. Protect your wealth today by going to bh-pm.com and tell them that Moms on a Mission sent you. Hi everybody, it's Moms on a Mission here. Recent research from the CDC says that millions of Americans develop parasitic infections and symptoms often go unnoticed or are misdiagnosed.
Parasites are the cause of many health problems, such as anxiety, depression, chronic pain, fatigue, and unexplained digestive issues. We all need a common sense strategy to improve our health.
We at Moms on a Mission encourage you to reach out to our good friend, Dr. Jason Dean. Dr. Dean's Full Moon Protocol provides all-natural detoxification and fights inflammation. These supplements are made with 100% organic ingredients and are proven to kill parasites safely and effectively.
To order your Full Moon Protocol, go to bravetv.store/mission to save $20 off your first order. That's bravetv.store/mission. Order Full Moon Protocol and start killing those foreign invaders that have been keeping you sick. That's bravetv.store/mission to receive $20 off your first order.